Hi, I'm Tommy Zimmer here at Motor City Comic Con 2013 in Detroit for Creative Continuity.
Excelsior!
If you've never been to a convention, then you really don't understand what goes on here.
The hard thing about Indiana Jones was the whole time I'd go begin my page that day, in my head, dun 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 dun.
Well, it's awesome to meet you, sir. I'm really a big fan.
That's as it should be.
Here at C2E2, we're going to be bringing you live coverage from artists, writers, and cosplayers. Hopefully some stars along the way. We hope you stay tuned to the rest of our coverage here at C2E2 2013. We're talking here with Phil Hester at C2E2 2013. So how'd you start in comics?
Oh gosh, like everybody else as a fan, you know, I love to read comics, and about age 12 or 13, I sort of figured out that there were actual human beings making these, and you know, since I like to draw, maybe I could be one of these people. And then in about high school, senior year in high school, I started submitting my work. And back then, Marvel, DC, they'd look at open submissions, and they'd write me back encouraging notes every once in a while, and that kept me going. And then when I was in college, the Turtles hit. And so there were so many publishers overnight, black and white publishers. And I was lucky enough to be able to land work with one of those while I was still in school. And I've been sort of climbing my way up ever since then, 25 years.
How'd you, what superheroes inspired you when you were a kid?
My favorite, I mean, the superhero I wanted to be was Spider-Man, of course, you know, because he was a regular guy with superpowers. But the ones that really made me want to be a superhero, be a superhero artist, were Swamp Thing, because he looked so fun to draw, and E-Man, because he's sort of on the other spectrum of fun to draw. So he had this light, bouncy stuff and this dark, twisted stuff. And so that's why my stuff looks as messed up as it does, because it's trying to get those two opposite ends together.
What do you consider your first big project in your career?
For me, it was probably, I think where people took notice of me first was probably Swamp Thing. I drew Swamp Thing for about 3 years, Mark Millar's run on that book. And for me, that was a dream come true, because like I said, I'd loved that character since I was a kid. So it's like getting to play for your favorite baseball team, you know, when you grow up and become a pro. And I'm not sure I did a great job, because I was in my early 20s, but it was still a great learning experience, and it was a lot of fun.
How'd you then end up getting onto Green Arrow?
Well, actually, that goes back to Swamp Thing again. Kevin Smith was, before he was Kevin Smith, you know, was a fan of that Swamp Thing run. And so when he pitched Green Arrow to DC, he pitched it with Joe Quesada drawing it. Well, about that time, Joe Quesada got this other job running Marvel, and they asked him to pick somebody else, and he sort of went down to the list of comic book artists he knew, and you know, he knew me from Swamp Thing, and we'd done a few little projects together at Oni, and so I wound up on Green Arrow that way.
What about Green Arrow attracts you to drawing him?
I'm a big fan of the Neil Adams run on Green Arrow, the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams run, and so is Andy, my inker on was sitting right here, inking a drawing right now as we speak. We're big fans of that Neil Adams run, and it was a chance to like tackle a character that was very iconic to us, and it was by far the biggest assignment we ever had. So we just really wanted to impress.
Have you done more independent work as you moved on?
I think I've always done sort of an even sort of 50-50 big to independent work. There's just something about the freedom that you get working for like Image or Dark Horse or smaller publishers that, you know, you can't quite get at Marvel or DC because you're handling these big franchises. But, you know, that's where all the good, cool toys are. So you want to go play with the cool toys at Marvel and DC. But by the same token, you also want to keep that sort of creative freedom that you have in the independents.
Yeah, what do you usually prefer doing between like creator-owned or getting more into the big franchises like DC and Marvel?
Honestly, I'd love, I think everybody here in Artist Alley, their dream is to be Mike Mignola. It's to have like, you know, a character that you're known for and that you can make a living just writing and drawing your own character. And I think that would be my ultimate goal too.
What do you have coming up?
Right now I'm writing, the first issue just came out of Invincible Universe, which is sort of a continuation of Guarding the Globe from Image and Skybound. And Image Universe is sort of what it sounds like. It's what else is happening in the Image Universe. And I'm also writing Thunder Agents for IDW. That'll start coming out in August. And I'm also working on some secret projects that aren't quite ready to roll out yet.
Okay. Can you give any teases as to what's coming up in some of the stories?
Well, Invincible Universe, people, since Guarding the Globe started, people have been clamoring for solo issues for Best Tiger. And so they're going to get their wish. Best Tiger is going to get a solo issue. El Chupacabra is going to get one. And believe it or not, Le Brusier, the dog, is going to get a solo issue also.
Is that more focusing on their individual pasts or more their psychology?
At least in the case of El Chupacabra, it's dealing with his past. And longtime readers of the book know he's responsible for the death of another hero. And it's going to be dealing with the repercussions of that in his recovery from alcoholism. And then the Best Tiger episode is sort of a just how cool is Best Tiger.
This is Tommy Zimmer at C2E2 2013 signing off.
It calls the 10 Commandments of successfully working with artists. And if you're a writer and you want to create comics and you want to work with artists, these are probably like the 10 best rules or commandments or guidelines that I could give people that might be interested. Which does take me to number 3, which thou shalt be prepared to pay for someone good. Having a written contract with an artist in which it is outlined that you will pay him or her for the work, that automatically sets you apart from most of the other aspiring writers who choose to spend their money on video games and DVDs rather than making comics. I could also legally protect you down the road too. When you get involved in pay, get involved in contracts. It doesn't have to be super fancy. You can go get notarized, get a lawyer, all this stuff you really want. But just have something in writing to protect yourself. And protect the artist as well. That separates you from a lot of people. Not like, yeah man, I'll pay you. Man, you know, people hear that all the time, especially artists hear that all the time. I'll pay on the back end. You know, well, what if no money ever comes in? Do they get anything? What if you have created the next Walking Dead? The next Nightmare World, whatever it is. And it becomes this multi-million-dollar property. And you said you give them a back-end deal. What's that mean? You know, I mean, you could be in for money, you know, a serious situation. Money makes people funny. No one cares when there's no money. Doing it for fun, they're having a good time, cool. But money can make people really funny. So, I have a contract written up. And in this, you probably have to pay for, if you have to pay for someone you really like, so be it. Many, many years ago, it's in the book, this story I'm going to tell you. Went to Wizard World Chicago. Yeah, old school, man. Didn't know anything about anything. I went there because I wanted to talk to Axel Alonso. Axel Alonso is now the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comic. At the time, he was the editor of the Vertigo line over at DC. And he did these real cool horror anthologies, Flinch and Gangland and Weird Western Tales. And cool stuff, which is the kind of stuff that I wanted to write someday. And I was like, maybe someday I'll get to go write for Flinch, you know. And I didn't even know he was going to be there or not, but I went there and you know, dressed up, looked nice. I wasn't a sweaty mess like I am now. And I went up there. I went up to the DC booth. I'm like, hey, is Axel around? Like, see this well-dressed guy going up there. Like, oh yeah, is he? You know, he's not here right now. He'll be back in a little bit though. What was your name? Oh, it's okay. I'll be back. Walked away. You know, he didn't have a meeting with me or anything. He didn't even know me at all. Second time went up, same thing. Oh, is Axel around? I came by earlier. Said he'd be back in a little bit. I go get him. He comes out. I talked to him for a minute and I just poured it out. I'm like, listen, man. I know I can write. I know I can write. I can make great comics. I said, but I you know, and I don't know what the next step is. I don't know where to, you know, find artists or I don't know how to do anything. Like, you know, help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope, you know. And he gave me the advice which I'm giving you now, which he told me. He goes, you know, you can spend your money on DVDs. You can spend your money on CDs. You can have a great CD collection. I know now, like an iTunes collection or whatever. You can have a great video game collection. You can go out to the bars all the time. Or you can spend your money on paying artists to draw your scripts. And then you'll have comics. And you can show people your comics. And that will show that you write comics. How do you want to spend your money? you know, it's a question to ask yourself. How do you want to spend your money? You know, to this day, I don't own like a bunch of video games or a bunch of DVDs or anything like that because this is my hobby in a way. Now it's becoming my job. You got to spend money to make money. That's it. And there's been times in my life, don't get me wrong, where I didn't have the money. I talk about that in the book too. I found out that the house I had just bought was infested with termites and somehow passed inspection anyway. Ends up the realtor and the home inspector knew each other. That didn't help me. Termites are no joke. You ever seen the cartoons where like they eat the whole table? And like, that's what they do, man. It's like, here, my house is being held up by one support joist they hadn't found yet. I didn't have money for a while. I couldn't make comics. I couldn't afford to pay anybody, you know. You take care of what you got to take care of. But you do stock up the money. And again, what do you want to spend your money on? Are you serious about this? Save up a little money and you can afford to pick somebody. Don't pay them outlandish rates. We'll get to that later.
Are any of those at the big two, or are those mostly more at Image? Or
They're all indie stuff.
okay.
Do you know about Bestow Productions? We're the area's leader in video production. We provide quality, award-winning, and professional work in television commercial advertising, video for the web, video content for direct distribution, video on demand, and so much more. Give us a call at 570-486-4948 and see what Bestow can do for you. And now you know.